Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim out here pushing this gospel and truth and sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh Bahashem El Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh Bahashem El Shai, Lord willing, fall upon our houses. This is the brother Quanta Wath coming back at you. Lord will with the edifying lesson, a quick little lunchtime lesson, man. Lord will, it is edifying. Lord will, it is straight to the point. But I'm just going to hop right into it, man. This is Revelations 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And that's right, man. And we see, that World War III is starting to build up. Now, before I get into this article, we understand, right, that ultimately, there's everything, 1 Corinthians 14 and 40, right? All things shall be done decently and in order, right? And the order is that the charagma has to be pushed, right? Revelations 13 and verse 16 on down has to ultimately come to fruition before World War III can happen. But nonetheless, a World War III is ultimately starting to pick up speed, just as, the prophecy of Revelations 13 and verse 16 is picking up speed as well, but getting into it, it's an article. It says, it's on Newsbreak app. It says NATO, which those that know, right, NATO is basically that military power, which has, many, I think it was like 31 nations, are ultimately make up NATO, America being one of them, and America is ultimately trying to get, so just like Ukraine, right? America is ultimately trying to get Ukraine to join NATO, right? It says NATO forges a secret plan against Russia. We are ready to fight tonight, right? So, hey, this whole thing, man, is starting to look a little, intense, right? It says NATO leaders are set to approve plans outlining how the alliance can respond to an attack by Russia. The proposed move comes as a top NATO official, Admiral Rob Bauer, warned that preparations were needed because a conflict can present itself at any time, and really all these nations, right, have been preparing for war, right? Let me get this precept real quick. This is in Joel chapter 3, and we'll start at verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Right? War is being prepared right before our eyes, man. It says, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And, a lot of these nations, right, such as Russia, such as China, is ultimately calling in their reserve and starting to implement a draft, if you will, man. So these nations are ultimately starting to build up their armies. They've been, that for the last like 15, 20 years, they've been really focusing on building up their nuclear arsenal. Really more recently, right? More recently than, in the past, they've been really focusing on, building up their nuclear arsenal and preparing for this war that is ultimately going to take place, man. Right? It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So again, they go from focusing on their agriculture, their economy, right, to now they're focused on their military power, their military might, right? Verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. They're the cause of mighty ones to come down, the Lord. That's right, man. So going back to the article, again, proving that these nations are getting ready, right, for war. And we understand that, it makes sense that NATO, right, would ultimately start to, to prepare, because you got a lot of these nations leaving, the allyship, if that's a, word. English is not my first language, man. But all these nations that are allied to America, or even America's allies, right? These nations, like a lot of these European countries are starting to look at America sideways, man. And you're starting to see a lot of nations ultimately starting to want to join BRICS, man. Especially, America's neighbor, which is Mexico, man. It says NATO, which has been involved in smaller conflicts such as Afghanistan in recent years, has not drawn up such detailed plan for defending against a Russian attack since the end of the Cold War. But President It says, but President Vladimir Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine has led to a rethink. The plans, running into thousands of pages, will also guide its 31 members on how to upgrade forces and logistics, right? It says the move, which will be approved at the alliance's annual summit in Vilnius in July, will take several years to fully implement, although the NATO officials said that it could head into battle immediately. You know, it says, we are ready to fight tonight, said Lieutenant General Hubert Kotaru. I think that's how you say it. Slack if I said it wrong. It says Vice Chief or Staff at NATO's Supreme Headquarters, Allied Powers Europe, or SHAPE, according to Reuters. He said that the alliance does not believe the increasing troop numbers in the east are required, which is what Baltic's states have demanded. If the Russians are massing troops on the border, that will make us nervous, he told the agency. If we are massing troops on the border, that will make them nervous. Right? Says last year, NATO agreed to put 300,000 troops on high alert, up from 40,000. Right? So they, you know what I mean? They definitely increased their number of troops readiness by 400 or 500%, man. It says, however, it has struggled to keep pace with Ukraine's demands for military equipment and would have to upgrade logistics to allow troops to be deployed quickly via rail or road. You know, so again, NATO is fully prepared, man, you know, and ready for war, you know, and you best believe, right, that it's going to be a very bad war, man, you know, because it's prophesied that maybe even possibly some of these nations that are part of NATO and part of EU, right, are end up going to leave the NATO and EU for said reasons, you know, and turn on America, man, right? World War III is ultimately, you know, going to be the destruction of America, man, and this is where everything is heading, right? And you could pause the screen and read the rest of it. You know what I mean? There's only one more paragraph. You can pause and read there too. But nonetheless, again, let's go ahead and hit a few scriptures, and then we'll get out of here. This is Jeremiah 51. You know, because this is ultimately why the Lord is having these nations. It's like in Jeremiah 50 is the reason why the Lord is having these nations ultimately, start to be in that fighting spirit, is because at the end of the day, the Lord has an agenda, and in that said agenda, America is to be destroyed. Right? This is Jeremiah 50 and verse 9. It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, which we know Babylon, today is America. Right? It says an assembly of great nations from the north country, and that north country is going in on Russia. Right? Russia being the main culprit, right, for the ones who are ultimately going to hit the button. Right? Russia is going to be the main one to hit the button and shoot off their missiles at America. You know what I mean? And it says assembly of great nations, and those nations are ultimately going to be allied to Russia, man. Be on the side of Russia and be on the opposite side of America, man. You know, and again, we're starting to see that a lot happen, right? Where, these nations are ultimately trying to be a part of BRICS, right? They're leaving, being partners and with America and, with America's allies, direct allies, and starting to get with Russia. Right, Russia and China, right, the other two powers of the world, really the top two powers in the world as of right now, right, because America's power is waning, so the top two powers in the world are completely against America, man, right, and not to add, to add to that, right, you have China ultimately trying to rid Taiwan of its, quote unquote independence, man, and America has already sent troops over, about 200 troops over to Taiwan, right, just in case something ultimately pops off, man, which again, they have something called, Article 5, which America, is a part of NATO, right, as well as, 30 other countries that are a part of NATO, right, and Article 5 states that if a non-ally to NATO attacks one of NATO's members, then all the rest of NATO members have to go to war with that said non-NATO member. Right? They would have to go to war with that, man. Right? So, America ultimately stationing, its members over there, kind of deters, for a moment, it kind of deters, China going in to Taiwan and doing what they have to do, but eventually, right, America is just going to continue to lose its allies. It's going to continue to lose its power, right? It's going to continue to lose its influence to where it's at the point where these nations are looking at America like, well, fuck. I mean, it's basically a cakewalk, man, and they're going to press the button anyways, man. It says, and they shall set themselves in array against her, meaning against Babylon. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty excrement. None shall return in vain. Meaning what? Meaning they're going to shoot off these ICBM nuclear missiles and destroy America, man. Right? This is the reason why the Lord is having all these things ultimately happen. These nations ultimately getting their military and their nuclear arsenal built up. And that spirit of wanting to fight is being put on these nations, man. It's the ultimate goal is to destroy the epicenter of wickedness in the earth, and to remove Esau, Edom out of power, and to set up a righteous rulership, man. This is the whole point, man. The whole reason of these things that are taking place right now, and we have to continue to watch and pay attention, right? So that way these things that don't come upon us unawares, man, right? Because best believe it is coming, right? The Lord's word shall not return unto him void, right? But it shall accomplish whereto he had sent it, man. So you best believe that World War III is going to happen, man. And it's going to happen in our lifetime, man. But I don't want to touch on this too long, man. I just wanted to do a quick little, lunchtime lesson, man. I got to get into plantation, man. But yeah, man, Lord will is edifying. Lord will straight to the point, man. America's about to burn, man. America and whoever is, still allied with America, when World War III, fully pops off, are going to get completely destroyed, man. Because most of the ICBM nuclear missiles are going to hit here in America, right? But there are going to be, ICBM nuclear missiles that do hit other places, one being, Israel. Israel is going to be completely destroyed, right? It has to be destroyed in order for it to be completely built, right? Built back up, man, But America is going to be the place of where most of those ICBM nuclear missiles hit, right? So America's finna be destroyed here soon, man. World War III is finna pop off. Again, just making the point, right? We understand that all things have to be done in order. Revelations 13 and 16, right? The prophecy of the Charagma being pushed has to happen beforehand, but nonetheless, it is still building right before our eyes. So with that, Lord will is edifying. Lord will straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Ba'ashim Kakwadash. Till next time, I say shalom.